Call to order City of Port Richey Council meeting, City Council meeting Tuesday, August 27, 2024. I'd like to invite Sir for the field of communications.
Okay. Father God, we just come to you, and I do want to quote out of Isaiah 11, 1 through 5. All elected, appointed leaders would be filled with the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and the might and the spirit of knowledge, and also the truth and the fear of God, not doing it our way, but his way. And that the righteousness by his spirit would make laws that would be governed by his laws with our Constitution of America. So, Father, for all the stuff that's on the agenda tonight, I just thank you for the counsel of you and us together coming, and as from the general public, the things that will be discussed tonight, Lord, that we would just listen to the heart of the people and what is that we could decide to vote on and what to vote against. And I do also pray for the outdoor storages, that decisions would be made on that, as well as training for all members in the city for the stuff that, and redevelopment plan, and for adopting a fee for the building permits. And there's a lot on our code enforcement and things that we're going to be discussing tonight, so we need counsel on that, and as well as with the city manager, the mayor, and the vice mayor, and the council people. So we just thank you for that, and also for the school impact fee. So we just ask for wisdom and guidance, and we thank you for the servants of the people to serve one another and serve you as we pray and do the Pledge of Allegiance. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, have roll, please.
Mayor John Eric Hoover.
Here.
Vice Mayor Linda Rodriguez. Here. Councilman David Mueller.
Here.
Councilman Robert Hubbard.
Here.
Councilwoman Lisa Burke.
Here.
City Attorney Nancy Meyer. Here. City Manager Matthew Koppler.
Here. Thank you. Okay, first up, we've got to approve the minutes. We've got two sets. The agenda cover page only showed that August 5th, but there are a second set for July 9th. So let's start with August 5th City Council emergency meeting minutes. Have a motion?
Move to approve the August 5th minutes.
Have a motion second for discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the July 9th, 24 City Council minutes.
Motion to approve City Council minutes from July 9th, 2024.
Second. Have a motion second for discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is comments from the general public. Before I open up comments from the general public, I'm made aware we have a letter that, actually several letters, 25, 26 of them, that all the same that need to be read into the record. 22. So I ask if you could read the letter, and then I'll ask the council to take that up.
So for council's consideration, there's 22 public comments that are requesting all contract decisions and signings related to the police dispatch being transferred to Pasco County control be halted until the recall of Eric Hoover and the multiple ethics complaints that have been addressed and decided.
So I need a motion to accept those into the record. Is there a second? Second. Motion second for discussion. Oh, that's true. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So let's go, moving on to comments from general public. Real quick, public participation is encouraged. If you're addressing the council, step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please limit your general comments to 3 minutes. Comments on action items, please limit comments to 3 minutes on the current topic. Please limit your conversations while sitting in the audience during council business and silence your cell phones so as not to interfere with everyone's ability to hear the comments of both the public and the council during that time. With that, I do have a few signed up. I'll start with Leonard Lord. Pastor, welcome.
Mayor, Council, thank you for being able to share with you. I was thinking back, Mayor, when you came and was sworn in and how you wanted to lead this city in the way Jesus wants it to go. And what I'm going to share tonight, I know would be exactly the heart of the Lord. You know, I've been here for pastoring almost 30 years in Newport Richey. I've been in City Hall for 20-some years, a chaplain for the Sheriff's Department for about 10 years. And tonight I'm here to stand with our governor and also Collier County and Gilchrist County Commissioners and Trenton City Council that are passing a resolution denouncing Amendment 4. And we're asking that you please join us in condemning this horrible amendment. So I just want to share as it's great to have Nancy and always wise counsel of the laws. And so I'm just going to take a moment and share for what God says. I'm here because I want to declare that we want to stand for life. First, for our own conscience. Secondly, in agreement with what God says in the fear of Him. And then for the health and welfare of Port Richey. Exodus 15:26 told them when they came out of Egypt that if they would take heed to all of His commandments and obey His voice, that there would none of the diseases come on them that came on the Egyptians, for He was the Lord that healed them. And then we find out the Egyptians, of course, Pharaoh had to kill all the boy babies of God's people. And so we see they had that innocent blood on them. We've been to the commissioners. We're asking Pasco County to stand with our governor and to stand with us to declare that we do not want this Amendment 4 in our Constitution, and they'll be sharing more on that. We also find out the judgment that come there, if you go over and look through the scriptures, that really the health and the longevity of a people depends on their obedience to God. It's His presence of righteousness, His law that's forever settled in heaven. Then we find out over in Psalms 106 that plagues broke out on them because of their morality. And then Phinehas stood up and took authority, stood up for righteousness and stopped the plague. Then you read on how they had shed the blood of their sons and daughters, and then the wrath that God was going to bring on them. The wrath, they were going to go into bondage to their enemies. And so our question that we have is trying to say when life begins. Well, according to the scripture, when Mary said that she was going to have a child by the Holy Spirit, He's going to be the Son of the Most High, to name Him Jesus, and He was going to deliver His people. Mary said, how can this be, not knowing a man? Well, the conception through the Holy Spirit says, Mary, your cousin Elizabeth, which is past age to have a child, is 6 months with a child. Did you know when Mary went and spoke to Elizabeth, John the Baptist, 6 months old, leaped in Mary's womb, and Elizabeth said, when the mother of my Lord spoke, the baby leaped within me, and the joy we had. So even at conception, Jesus was already recognized as Lord. So we just want to thank you for standing with us. I, as a pastor and a leader here in Port Richey, do not want innocent blood on our hands from this amendment. Thank you for your time, and God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor. Just a comment on the Amendment 4. Back on the July 9th, we had, by consensus, agreed to have Nancy look at that. She was not here. She was sick at home on Zoom. And so, do you have everything you need to review that?
I mean, I know this.
Okay. Pastor, if you could get with Nancy after to get her, if you guys have a sample resolution and stuff, you get her the information. Oh, you have it? Okay. I'm going to get that to her so she can take a look. Next up, I have Valerie LaFrance. Welcome.
Valerie LaFrance, 9731 Sandstone Lane, Port Richey, Florida, 34668. Good evening. I too have been in the community for over 30 years and always been involved in the right to life for all. And I was driving down Washington Street today, and I passed by the Runaways Animal Rescue that is here in the city of Port Richey. What a commendable work that they do in saving so many lives of animals. Very commendable work. I represent the lives of the unborn child and children in the womb. We are the voice for the voiceless. According to the Agency for Healthcare Administration in Florida, this year alone, from January 1st to July 1st, 36,221 babies were aborted in Florida. That's not even counting chemical abortions, abortions done by taking a pill. I'm asking you again, as I did on July 9th, to consider a resolution to adopt one that states opposing Extreme Pro-Abortion Amendment 4, which will be on our November ballot. I hope you had a chance to review this resolution that was given to you prior. The Florida's Heartbeat Protection Act has protections for the woman and the child, including a 24-hour waiting period and sonogram requirement, parental consent for minors seeking an abortion, clinical safety regulations, and abortions performed in person by a medical doctor or osteopathic physician. In part, Amendment 4 says that, quote, no law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion. If Amendment 4 passes, the Heartbeat Act would be repealed. These protections would be removed. I have a replica of an unborn baby's feet. You can't even see it. I couldn't even find it here on my scarf. It represents a 10-week-old unborn baby. And I have a model here that I've shown before of a 10-week-old unborn child. It's truly a child. I'm asking you to realize lives are at stake and the time is at hand. I humbly ask you to adopt this resolution opposing Extreme Pro-Abortion Amendment 4. And please keep life alive. I also have 37 seconds, so I do want to, I've been practicing, Mayor. I do want to at least give out these small cards for you because it explains our heartbeat bill that we currently have, and it lets you know what we currently have in place. And remember that if Amendment 4 passes and is enshrined abortion in our Constitution, Heartbeat Bill Act will be gone. So I would like to approach Ashley, I guess,
Is it
or whoever.
is it okay? Just leave the cards with her, and we don't need to enter into the record, do we? Yeah, just leave the cards there. We can get them after the meeting. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Next up, I have, and I hope I get this right, Yadira Hector. Welcome. Is that correct?
Yes. My name is Yadira Hector. My address 16610 Lemans Drive, Spring Hill, Florida, 34610. I am a small business owner here in the city of Port Richey for more than 15 years. And recently I had to relocate my business due to things that happened. And I want to thank the city of Port Richey and the fire department, all of you guys, that had done a wonderful job helping me. Because as a small business owner, it's really hard to keep the business going through this economy, and especially move to a new place. And we have lost customers, we have lost business. So I'm here to encourage everybody to visit us and thank all of you that have been helping us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up, I have Pat Rogers. Welcome.
Pat Rogers, 4838 Sunset Boulevard, Port Richey. I come here as a concerned citizen, as one of the state directors for Protect Our Children project. Amendment 4 not only affects the newborn, it affects the parental rights for the medical care of their children. And that's another law that could probably be destroyed by this if it's voted for. So right now, the parents do not have to give consent for any medical treatment that their children get if this Amendment 4 goes through. And that's important. You know, parents need to be in charge of their children. not the children in charge of whatever. So that's that. And this amendment has been gone through by Liberty Counsel, that's a national law firm, and there are many, many tricky words in here. When you read it at first reading, it sounds okay, but the more you delve into it, the worse it gets. It's very misleading, and most people don't have that ability to get the counsel before they vote on something. So it's up to you guys as our representatives to make sure that our citizens know what's out there and what this is about. It's way more than abortion. It covers a lot of different things. So I beseech you to do the proclamation and make sure the citizens know that we're all fighting for the lives of our children.
Thanks, Pat. Next up, Cynthia Malin. Welcome.
Cynthia Malin, 5446 Blue Point Drive. So I'd like to make a statement. I think signing of the contract to hand over dispatch to Pasco Sheriff Office should be delayed until there is a clear definition of the scope, future cost increase, contract durations, and it should be presented to the public to review as required by state law. The information provided to the City Council did not have direct cost input from the Port Richey Police Department. The incomplete data given does not represent a clear case for moving our in-house dispatch to Pasco Sheriff Office. If the numbers have not been accurately verified, that would be a misrepresentation of the information presented. Giving up our local dispatch also disallows Port Richey for receiving future grants for cost reduction of equipment and personnel. With multiple ethics complaints that have been filed, all negotiations should be halted until the aforementioned issues have been addressed and resolved. If the council continues to move forward, you could be contributing to unethical practices. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. Welcome.
Okay, my name's Danny Fields, and my address is 8114 Leo Kidd here in Port Richey. And, you know, you heard what we was talking about. I like to kind of paint a good picture here. We all love kids, and we wouldn't want to see no kid to be hurt and that. You know, as I was sitting here thinking about the police officers, how they go out there and protect and defend, and how the fire department goes in and rescues and that. Well, that's what we're here. We want to rescue those that need rescue from this bill that would kill them. If you look on the sites, it would show you pictures of kids and the way they abort them and the way they do that. You know, them babies have feelings from conception through. You know, there's statistics that prove this. But see, we want rights. But what about their rights? That's what I'm appealing to you guys about, the rights of those who don't have a voice. I'm here to be their voice. I'm a dad. I'm a grandpa. I have sons, I have daughters, and grandchildren. If I don't fight for them and be a voice not only for them, but for their children and generations to come, we will lose our rights as American citizens. You know, there's a statistic over in China that they are not allowed to have so many girls. Well, if you Google that, just this year alone, by taking the rights away from the children and the unborn, and there was over 30 million children aborted. Why would we want that in society when this is a place where we could be free and stand for righteousness and justice? And so I will close this out like this. In Exodus 20:13, you shall not murder. Well, that's Old Testament. Well, the New Testament, Romans 8:28, talks about God would write his laws in your hearts and your minds. You know, if I talk about Philippians 4:4, it says, this is the day the Lord has made. We should rejoice and be glad in it. Humble ourselves in 5, and then pray for all people, and then it would guard our hearts and minds, and we could think on things that are pure, lovely, just, and noble, and right. And then when you look at Proverbs 6, it talks about wisdom there. There's 6 things that God hates, and 7 are abomination. Pride, hatred, murder. And so as a chaplain standing here appealing to and for the rights of the children, as a lawyer, as a man of God, I want to appeal to you to say no to this and make a resolution to stand against it. Because as soon as we take these and allow these things, then more corruption will come in and more murder and hatred. So thank you for your service. I know this has been tough, and I'm an easygoing guy, but when it comes time to fight and stand for righteousness, especially for the children, I'm going to voice my opinion. I do love yous, and I hope you make right choices on this.
Thanks, Danny.
Thank you.
That's all I have signed up for tonight. I show of hands, anyone else like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor.
Seeing no hands, I'll bring it back. To comments from the city manager, pass it to Mr. Council for his comments.
Do not have any comments.
None? Moving on to comments from Mayor and City Council, I'll start to my right with Councilman Mueller.
All right, get to my list. First of all, I'd like to thank Pastor Lord and Pastor Fields for praying over this thing. There's been a lot of consternation and turmoil in the city, and I, for one, am praying as well, and I stand in agreement with you.
Thank you, sir.
And I appreciate your hard work in doing that. We need wisdom.
Thank you, Council, sir.
Just like James says, ask and you'll get it.
Thank
I'm
you,
a
sir.
firm believer there. What I'd like to know is, when is the boat going to get off of the trailer and into the water? Is it? It's going into more? The new boat. Okay, good. Thank you, Chief. ETRs. Are we moving forward with looking at getting that rentals addressed and into our code?
For the short-term rentals?
All rentals,
I guess I don't know the exact question.
any rental
Right.
should have a business license. Having a business license through this process would allow our fire people to be able to inspect the property and ensure that it's safe, right? We were trying, or I've been bringing this up for a while, but short-term rentals and long-term rentals, I think there's an opportunity there to bring that into our code.
We talked about something, so that's why I'm thinking I'm confused.
We had presented to the building official the residential codes that we had. That's
Yeah,
that was what the building department recommended we do rather than PTR.
that's on my list to do. I can move it to a higher level.
That's fine.
Yeah.
When we get to old business, I've got some items there, and city managers should be able to address that then, so I'll defer to that. Thank you.
Hubbard.
Yeah, I'll be real brief. First, I want to apologize. We have a regular scheduled council meeting on November 26th, and I won't be here. I don't expect everybody to change their schedule around mine, but if they do happen to want to schedule something prior to that date, I'd be happy to accommodate. I won't be back till December 6th. My 6th to December 6th, I'll be out of town. That's all.
Vice Mayor Rodriguez.
I was just wondering, I haven't seen that. I'm sorry. The Coastal Resilience Committee, We had a meeting scheduled with one of the members, and I've been looking and I haven't seen anything. Sorry, I haven't called you. I should have called and asked this question.
That's okay. I did send out an email trying to schedule for the 9th of September at 6, and I'm still waiting on responses from members.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, I'll look for it then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, the 9th you said?
Yes,
Okay,
I've
thank
gotten
you.
2 responses so far.
You'll have 3 by tomorrow. Okay, that was all I had. Thank you.
.gov or to the
Yeah,
.com?
did you switch your email? There's a new
Uh,
email.
Oh, yeah,
No.
your email is you get.
That's why I haven't gotten anything. I keep looking and there's nothing in there.
We changed the domains to .gov, so there's a procedure to be able to get your email. So, yeah.
George sent a message, an email message to the old email, so you look into that. There should
Okay.
be one from George. And
I will
it
look.
explains, yeah.
I did not see that, but I will look. That was all.
Okay.
That's why.
Oops, why haven't I gotten it?
I forgot something. You brought it up. Thank you. Can the council be copied on all of these meetings just for information if we choose to attend, like that coastal meeting? I'd love to go to that. So when you send out that package to those, or maybe you don't send emails to these other committees, I would like to get copied on all that.
On the calendar.
I get it. It wasn't. What's that? Would be a what?
Up to city manager.
Okay.
You're talking when we send out to the committees the
Yeah.
reminder that the meeting is
Or
scheduled.
whatever, yeah, or if you send a calendar invite to them, I don't know. I'm just, more information I could help me get on track. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't. I might be just send out calendar invites to everybody. It's kind of the easiest way to do it. There's a way to pull your calendar in, the city calendar, I believe, with the ICS file, whatever. You can actually keep that, but there might be other option too, is sync that calendar together. So let's come across that. Okay, go ahead. So the only thing I had a couple things. First one is I went to the used to be called Brownfield meeting, but they've kind of rebranded as a redevelopment grant program. Just briefly, there's I think $500,000 of money the county received to basically take commercial properties that potentially were brownfield sites, and they have that available out there for phase 1 and phase 2 items. Phase 1 is kind of doing a history of the property to see what was there, like a dry cleaner. If dry cleaner was there before, the ground would be contaminated, and they would assess that to see if it's something they would move to phase 2 or actually would test. But identifying a property as brownfield, there opens up a lot of incentives for additional grant money. And so I have a flyer here. I'll leave that with city manager. I've asked that they send us a digital one that we can put on the website or whatever. But if there's anybody that has commercial property in the city, and I also want to say that that doesn't exclude Fort Ritchie government properties as well. There's sometimes when you acquired it, if you were the one that actually contributed to the problem, obviously you don't get grant money for that. I think there's a date. If you acquired it before a certain date, then it's easy to do. If it's after that date, then it's just additional hoops. But anyway, there's information out here on that. But there's money available to do that identification. And like I said, if it is found to be an issue, it kind of unlocks additional funding to help do some of that development.
Can you tell me what brownfield site is?
It's a contaminated site. So
Okay, so I didn't know, I understood that that's what it was all about, but I didn't know you were calling it brownfield site, so I don't know if there was anything specific.
Yeah, there's-
Definition or description of it.
yeah, let me see if I can let me read this here.
Sorry, I just don't know about that.
Yeah, it's revitalizing Pasco County. So Pasco County has been awarded $500,000 in EPA Brownfields revitalization funding to launch its redevelopment and cleanup efforts. The program targets blighted and semi-blighted commercial properties and abandoned or vacant sites with perceived contamination. Examples include closed gas stations, vacant lots, former dry cleaning shops, or open dump sites, plus more. So basically, if there's any kind of environmental impacts to that ground, phase 1 and phase 2 reports are covered in this grant. So you get it done for free. So it's a good program. So I'll leave it with you, and I'll try to get you the digital copy once they send it to me. The only other thing I had is I left in front of you guys this FLC University certificate program for elected municipal officials. And I wanted to remind that EMO 1 class in Tampa is October 4th through the 5th. And you can register for that now. I think it's like $300. It's good information. There's a follow-up class that's EMO 2. I've attended both of them. Very good class. And you get points for that through this program. So I wanted to give you this to kind of track that. There's 3 levels that they offer. At 10 points, you can become Bronze Certificate of Merit, 20 points, Silver Certificate of Leadership, and 30 points is their Gold Certificate of Excellence. I was awarded that for this last year because I achieved that level of points. If you look on the back of the sheet, you'll see what points you get for different things, webinars, conferences, those classes. So I'd encourage you guys to take a look at that. And obviously with that one being in Tampa coming up, that'd be a good opportunity. So that's all I had. Moving on to comments from boards and committees. Do we have any? Okay. Moving on to consent agenda for motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda for August 27th.
Second.
Have a motion second for discussion.
Yes. I noticed we've got Newport Richie through July now, so I guess the process has been fixed and you guys are getting the invoices.
I don't know if it's been fixed, but they did since the invoices, so yeah, they're being paid.
Okay. And then the other thing I had, I know that we've been working with that coastal engineering firm for Limestone Pier. Have we got any invoices from them?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The problem is, and you may not see it on there, is that it's been overlooked since there hasn't been someone in this position. So it's been overlooked. We're trying to go back and make sure it gets coded properly.
So you're validating the amount on the invoice and the activity.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll see that next time, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
On that same thing, it was 43,000 for May, June, and July. So I'm assuming with this payment that catches us up all the way through July. We don't have anything before that, right?
Yeah, we're all caught up right now.
So we would potentially have August, September
Left. Correct.
and based on this, we have 392,000 remaining under budget for the sewer expense. Is that what I could derive from this? Because if we had 3 months and 43,000, let's say 2 months is 30,000.
We also get billed from Pasco County, if I'm not mistaken, too. So
Yeah, we have monthly recurring for the lift stations, so we get those along
Those
with
not current either, I guess. Those behind.
They were behind, yes.
Okay.
I believe we just received some for those, and I don't know that they were included on this because we got them kind of late.
Any other discussion? Anyone from public had comment? See no hands up put to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 3, second reading of ordinance number 24-707, amending chapter 127, article 3, section 127-56 to allow for outdoor storage. This is back on the agenda because my understanding is it wasn't noticed properly last time when we addressed this, and so we need to redo that. Now it's been properly noticed. Give additional information on that. That's pretty much you'll cover it. Okay, so I'll pass that to Ms. Meyer for her reading.
Ordinance number 24-707, an ordinance of the City of Port Richey, Florida, amending Chapter 127, Article 3, Section 127-56, Port Richey Code of Ordinances to allow for outdoor storage, providing a definition of outdoor storage, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. So I'll now open up the public hearing. Anyone from the public like to speak on that? I do have one signed up. We'll start with Janet Applefield. Welcome.
Good evening, Janet Applefield, 8001 Apple 6 Drive. Just as you all know, we've talked about this numerous times, so I'm hoping now that it's been properly noticed, it can be, Mr. Mueller can present his same motion and we can have the same vote as we had last time. Appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thanks, Janet. Anyone else? Show hands. Okay, I'll now close the public hearing. and open up for a motion and discussion. On the motion, obviously, if you look at the packet, it's the same as it was before, where the item was in accepted uses with additional language. So if you want to leave that, or if you want a motion to change that, you need to redo that motion.
I would like to enter the motion that I entered the last time, and if we go to page 21, where it starts with number 8, all the way down to the middle of the 5th sentence in that paragraph, strike bulk materials, shipping containers, and large items. The outdoor storage yard shall not be located closer than 25 feet to any public street or closer than 75 feet to any portion of a lot located within a residential district. That's the part that I want struck. So it's easier to say what's not going to be there. So I'm making a motion to take that and list that as number 23 on the previous page, 20, and then move 23 down to number 24.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Sure.
On this, I didn't, you said a watercraft, does that include boats, and that boats are not included in that, they can't go? Sorry.
No, from bulk materials.
From bulk material, okay, that's what I was asking, that's what I was just saying.
Bulk materials,
Yes, so that's it.
shipping containers.
That's what I was asking, thank you.
That's it. This would end the construction equipment. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Next up is item number 4, approval of resolution number 24-18, mandating ethics training for all members appointed by the city council to the boards, committees, and commissions within the city. Pass that to Mr. Copple for introduction.
Yes, at the last meeting, we had a discussion about the scheduling of the Ethics and Open Meeting Act training for boards and commissions. Council at that time had indicated they wanted to make it mandatory, and the city attorney prepared a resolution to encapsulate that desire.
Do you read that?
Resolution number 2418, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, mandating ethics training for all members appointed by the City Council to the boards, committees, and commissions within the city, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Open up for a motion and discussion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Public comment? Pat?
Pat Rogers, 4838 Sunset Boulevard. We had the Sunshine Law training, and it's been over 20 years ago, and I have continuously been on either a board or committee since then, so we're way past time for this.
We'll get you some training. Anyone else? Show of hands. I see no hands. I'll bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up, item number 5, approval of resolution number 24-22, amending the City of Port Richey Community Redevelopment Agency's redevelopment plan. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
As council is aware, especially the board of the CRA city, we've been going through the plan update process for the last several months. This has gone through a very public process where the company that's been handling this for the city, or for the CRA, Inspire, has done a number of outreach efforts. We also then came back to the CRA once the plan was in draft form, presented it to the CRA board for comments, which at that point in time we didn't receive any. It was also presented to the Planning Commission, or the Planning Board at I think that was what I had in here. With no comments at that point. We also, pursuant to what the code says, sent it out to the different taxing districts, and now bring it back to City Council for final adoption.
Motion and or discussion? Oh, you need to read. That's what- go.
Resolution number 24707, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey amending the City of Port Richey Community Redevelopment Agency's redevelopment plan, providing for findings, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay. Motion and or discussion? I will make a point, just to point out on page 60, which lists the actual, sorry, wrong page, 62, which is page 25 of the actual presentation, is the zoning map. That zoning map has some differences than our December 2011 zoning map that we've been using. So this came from the county. There's some disconnect between the two maps. I don't think we know which one is actually accurate. That's part of the work we need to do. I think this kind of reflects what the county has in the property appraiser's data, but it's in conflict with what we consider our current zoning map. So just point that out. I don't think it's necessarily important that we change that because obviously it doesn't matter. But going forward, also we need to kind of hone in on fixing those zoning issues to make those maps.
Going to matter to somebody.
That's going to be at some point. But as far as this plan, obviously these change will still be there. So I just want to point that out. That could be wrong information on that zoning map.
Do we have a zoning map that
Yes,
it
it
is?
is 2011. We provided it to council.
I mean, electronic form?
Well, it's PDF. Yeah, we shared it with all of you times since I've been here.
It was in a binder like this, probably.
Could be, but I think any of the electronic packets that we would have sent would have had it also. I know during the conversation, at least two conversations, one prior to your being on council, gave it to council, showed it. But I think when we were having the C3 outdoor storage discussion, we shared it as well as part of the packet.
That'd be April.
But if you don't have it, let me know. Yeah.
Have density and stuff like that. I was stuck in all the numbers. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss something.
Yeah, this
It's quite extensive, so a lot of good information, but I just wanted to make sure that wasn't in there that I missed.
Yeah, this doesn't mean it's supposed to be consistent with what the comprehensive plan says. So again, it doesn't contradict anything that the comprehensive plan says. It's supposed to be consistent with it.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss it. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Motion to approve.
Go ahead.
Have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? I have no sign-ups to talk on this. Is anybody like to speak? So no hands I bring back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 6, approval of resolution number 24-23, adopting a fee for the reissuance of a building permit. I'll pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
Yes, you might recall a number of months ago, I had brought forward a issue that was presented to me by a resident that was in the process of having their pool installed in a new build. And their contractor had let the permit expire. And when they finally were able, I guess, were ready to go forward with that, they had to come in and actually pay for the full permit over again. They again felt it wasn't fair, whatever. But we brought it here to council and indicated that when you look at like Pasco County or the city of Newport Richey, they do have a reinstatement fee, which is a fee that's less than what the full permit fee would be. And I believe ultimately what is in this resolution mirrors, if I'm not mistaken, what Newport Richey has in theirs, to allow for to renew that permit fee after it's expired.
Okay. We'll read
Resolution number 24-23, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, adopting a fee for the reissuance of a building permit and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. And just to draw, so obviously this is the entire permit fee structure. What we've kind of added here, I guess, is the $50 reinstatement fee. Is that?
Yeah, so, let me.
Plus half. Permit.
Well, so IV is expired permit
Yeah,
for
so
final
it
inspection.
starts, so it starts with IV, expired permit reinstatement fee for permits lacking final inspections only, which is the $50 per trade. But then if it's an expired permit reinstatement fee for permits lacking multiple inspections only, it's in addition to the $50 per trade is also half of the original permit cost. So they would, again, I think the theory behind that is that it had gone through the full building review to begin with. There's still a review that still needs to be done because, again, like in this particular case that brought this forward, the update to the building code, Florida building code, had happened. And so we did have to go back and review that to make sure that there wasn't any changes within the building code that would, impact that. So there is a cost time related to that review.
Is permits are what, 6 months normally? Does it depend on what it is?
Yeah, a permit's active for 6 months, but it renews every time there's an approved inspection. But the one in question was 18 months with no inspections.
So they extend as the process goes. This is just basically nothing happens and nobody says anything, then it expires. That's what this is.
Right.
Okay. Any other discussion or motion?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss here on page 173, page 1 of 3 has a $50 fee for any permits. I guess it's like if you have like a swimming pool or a driveway or a simple permit, it's $50. But you have multiple inspections, such as an addition or a new home or new construction, it's 50% of the original cost of the permit, which could be $12,000, $10,000 impact fee and everything.
So, well, no, this again is just for the building permit piece of it. And again, right now, the way it's set up is that individual that had a expired permit, if they wanted to renew that permit, they would have to pay the full cost of the permit. And so what the surrounding municipalities, Newport Richey as well as Pasco County, they require a portion of the original permit to be paid. And I can't remember exactly what Pasco County's was. I want to say it was 50% as well, but I just off the top of my head, I can't remember that. But again, there is time spent in reviewing these, especially when there is an amount of time after the permit has expired without any work. So the difference in the two between 4 and 5, the IV and the B, really is that the first one, it's only lacking the final inspection. And so there shouldn't be necessarily a lot that's changed in there because it would have been built to whatever the code was when it was approved. Where in 5, no work has been done. So, effectively we're going to be doing it from the very beginning, again, reviewing to make sure it meets what the current code is and the other inspections that would be necessary up until completion.
Well, and there's several different scenarios as far as expired permits and why that can happen. Because you said it could have a storm and they were just missed it by a day. They have to pay 50% of the permit in order to complete that job because it expired by 1 or 2 days.
Well,
and also my neighbors built a swimming pool and they came in and dug up their backyard and part of my yard, and a year later came back and finished the pool. So it was tore up for a whole year, and their permit expired, and we allowed them to go ahead and finish the pool with no fees. So we're definitely not consistent, and this is a good thing to do. I'm just wondering why 50% but it couldn't be 25%, or is there
If
the scenarios?
if there's a issue like that, where you have a contractor that starts and it runs off, and let's say in pools, I've heard a lot of horror stories where people
Yep.
get started and they don't come back or whatever. In a case like that, if you're trying to get that taken care of, I mean, such a court's involved or whatever, what's the process? Is it just a call, say, hey, I'm having trouble, can you extend it for me? I mean, or is it actually just expire?
Well, again, you said every case is a different case, and I think there is a certain amount of discretion with the building official to look at those cases, determine if there's something maybe that doesn't fit neatly within what the policy is. So again, your example that it expires by the day. If there had been communication with the building official prior to that, he would have the discretion, I'm assuming, to be able to work with them and extend it before it got there. If they're working with him on that, if there's been no contact and it's like, oh, we didn't do anything and it's expired, then yeah, then kick in. But
Well, it can be a burden to some homeowners because this gets passed on to them most of the time, obviously. And if they're working with our grant program on an addition to their house and they're putting in windows at our expense, and a storm comes or whatever and happens to damage most of the house, it gets delayed. Contractor decides they have, they got to deal with the insurance company, and there's a lot of scenarios where that can get delayed. Now they are burdened to pay 50% of the permit when it's no one's fault. It's Mother Nature. There's, like I said, there's a lot of scenarios. I was just wondering if that could be a 25% cost of the original permit.
Can I ask a question?
I got a question.
Sure. I'll go you first.
I've been waiting.
No, Lisa's
Oh, shit,
been waiting.
okay.
Lisa's
I've
been
been
waiting.
waiting. So is there no time limit in this at all, ever? So, I mean, if they have to get their permit, because he had the case where he said it was 18 months later. I mean, at what point is that?
I think it was actually 13 months.
But is there no time limit ever? Do you understand what I'm
So you
saying?
come like 3 years later to open it back up?
What is there a permit that's ever time, whatever, expiration list?
Is there a time limit on it?
If you're asking with the suggested changes about the lowered fee for reinstatement of a permit that was already issued, that was not addressed. I think that would happen. That would fall back into the normal cycle. So let's say the individual that was gone for 13 months came back. There was a provision for a reinstatement fee. They fit that for what's required. Then they're going to have that normal work with the building official, right? The permit will then expire in 6 months if you don't do what you need to do. We just start all over. But then I guess your question, maybe they wait 7 months, then they pay $50 again. Does that keep going on
Do they
forever?
wait a year? Do they wait? I just wondered if there's actually.
And here, there's nothing that says you can only have, pay 2 in reinstatement fees. There's no limit. So that's.
On the actual permit, I've had them, but I've never read them. I'm sure I'm not the only one. But on that permit, does it say, give it instructions, for instance, using Bob's scenario, if you run into delays, call the building, the city and notify them. Is there anything on that?
No. It basically just says that it's good for 180 days. It expires in 180 days.
Okay.
But since I've been here, anything that has expired and has gone less than a year is a $40 extension. They apply for an extension. I've done hundreds of them in the city. The ones that go over a year are the ones that usually get hit. We don't have very many, and the one that we're speaking about is the only one I've actually had since I've been here.
Okay.
Florida statute and the Florida Building Code says anything that has expired for 2 years and you haven't applied for a reinstatement of that, then it's null and void altogether. And the building official has the ability to have that entire structure removed, and they'd have to start all the way
That's
over.
Florida statute. That's not
Florida statute and Florida Building Code.
So it sounds like if it expires within a year, they can extend it. And then outside of that year, that's where this would kick in for the 50 and whatever.
Correct.
And then outside of 2 years, then there's.
Right. So
Gotta start all over.
that's what I was looking for. That
Yeah, that's not on here, and you're talking about
Yeah, that
discretion.
goes back
There's
to
no
Florida
discretion
statute.
on here
That's
either.
Florida statute.
So all this does basically is set the fee for that. So basically from that past that year, if he does extensions, there's no fee structure. So that puts the fee in. So for that 1 to 2 year time frame, it would be this $50 range. And then after that, there would not be any reinstatement. It'd have to go back to the start over.
I know we're talking about reinstatement, but I got some other issues with this as well. I don't know if we can even discuss them.
We can discuss them, and if there's more changes that need to be made, we would probably need to just pause this and
That's fine.
bring it back another time.
Under the first item I, the fee for the cost of construction less than $3,000. We have a
Wait a minute. You on
page 173, item B1.
okay? Gotcha.
In the $3,000 and a $3,000 construction, which is on the small side, these are your DIY people, typically. That are there's a minimum fee of $90 that's charged, but if you have a $1,000 project, you're still going to get hit with that $90 again. And I'm wondering is if we could just make it a flat 3% across all instead of the above cost, 3,000 minimum, 90, and the other thing on the 300. Just make it a flat 3%, and that way it takes the smaller guy and doesn't burden them with additional permits. And the next thing, and it really isn't in here, but it's in the process, when a contractor comes in and prepares a permit, most of the contracts that I've seen have permits already buried in them. So that cost is getting applied for a permit, and now it's going to be taxed, if you will, or permit fee applied to that as well. And I think we need to be very explicit in our form to indicate that it's construction cost only and not any permits that may be included in the contract. So it's just a point of clarity. I don't know that a lot of these contractors use a third party to supply the paperwork or to put the paperwork through, and they're probably not as diligent as one like myself looks at numbers. And I'm just thinking, do we want to somehow change our process to call attention to the fact that when somebody comes and applies for a permit, you're looking for construction cost only and not the cost of the contract?
Any construction I've had done by roof, etc., I didn't come get the permit. The construction company gets the permit.
I get
So-
that. That's not what I'm talking about. Well, hold on time. So, here's the clarification. When I got a building, my roofer got a building permit. He charged me, I'm just going to pick a number, $15,000. In that number was a charge for a permit. And they took that number and applied for a permit for $15,000. It should have been $15,000 minus the 3%. Should have been the construction cost. The permit should have went down by a certain. So it's tax on tax, or a permit on a permit. That's all I'm saying. Oh my.
First of all, we can't ask for a contract. So it's whatever they put down as in the cost, and it's statute and Florida Building Code, it's a job cost. Not just construction cost, job cost. So we don't dictate that on the application. That's whoever the contract with the homeowner is. So that's up to them. If they want to put down on their job cost whatever permit fees they feel it is, that's on them. But the building officials do have the ability through the Florida Building Code, if somebody comes in, say Dave comes in with his roof at $6,000, I know from industry experience that roof is way more than $6,000. We give them two opportunities to amend it If not, I can set the price on it, and that's by statute and Florida building code. But we cannot, by law, ask for a copy of the contract. So whatever is put on that job cost for that application is on that contract.
I would see the permit as well as part of the nails or the wood of the roof. I mean, that's part of the process. We have to have a permit, so.
I get it, but what you're doing is you're charging for the permit twice.
Well, percentage,
Or
3%.
percentage of it, yes. And all I'm suggesting is when we address our application, put a footnote or a note there excluding permits, because that's not part of the job cost. When you're applying for the permit, it should be everything up to the permit is what you're applying for a permit for. So if you had $1,000 permit associated with a $30,000 project, it should be $29,000 should be on the form, not to include the permit.
And then the construction company isn't getting the $1,000 that they paid for the permit.
Yes, they are.
Well,
Go ahead, Bob.
I understand what you're saying, David, but the problem thing is the contractor's going to put down, we don't know what his costs are for the job. He's going to cost it out, and he wants to put the permit fees in there. He may put the permit fees aside, but it still could be incorporated in price. There's no way for us or anybody to tell, except him, that the permit fees are included in that cost of that job.
And maybe the solution to that, again, is kind of getting off track here, obviously, but maybe the solution to that is just, as you say, on the application, instead of saying job cost, maybe we could look at amending that application, job cost minus the permit fee. And then, whatever they put in there, hopefully they would do that math.
Hopefully, right.
Is that something that you could look into to see if there's options to do?
I wrote that down so we can research.
We can see if the building department has an idea.
I'm just thinking from a point of clarity, because I've seen it where contracts come in. I'm trying to build a pool, $50,000, $60,000, and now 3% of that's $1,800. And if you add that on top again, and then pay another 3% on the $1,800, that's what I'm talking about. It's cumulative.
Yeah.
If,
That makes sense.
if that's something we need to change in our process, that's something else. It doesn't necessarily go here, but I would like to see a flat 3% across the board.
I got a comment on that. So I think the idea behind 3% of 3,000 is 90. So that's where the 90 comes from. Right. Smaller jobs, there's still a minimum amount of time that staff has to expend to actually do that permit. So the idea is that you want to at least recoup your costs. And I think that's probably what the 90 is representing here. I get it. So we want to charge $10 for something that costs us 90 to produce, right? I think that's the reason it's like that.
It's hard to regulate.
But I mean, if you want to draft a motion, and
we're also obligated to ensure that if we've over collected on permits, I believe we're supposed to have a mechanism to refund those as well. Are we not? That's what I thought I read from your.
There's an ordinance that you guys have that says that I think it's on the fee schedule. It says that there's no refund.
Yeah. 3 administrative fee, item C, refunds. No refunds shall be issued for permits.
There was a link to a Florida site that I think it was on the Development Services page, and I went to it, and I was reading through that, and I can give you guys later on that, but I thought that there was a mechanism there that if you collect too much over time, then there has to be a mechanism.
You do. Because by statute, the building department is only allowed to carry forward up to 4 times its annual budget.
Right.
We don't make that here. So in the event that we did, yes, that's true. By statute, you have to refund those back.
Right.
Now, we have done refunds in the city because of the way some of the work had worked out. I think you had brought some of them to my attention.
Right.
Those are the ones that were done.
Right.
But by statute, we don't have to do it unless we exceed that 4-year increase or revenue that we carry
Expect the
forward.
expectation.
Yep.
And on that, Mike, when you, if we were to achieve that, you take over that 4 years, all the permits that came in and portion it back to each individual, or how do you refund too? Just out of curiosity.
I don't have that whole. I think it goes by an individual basis, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But just to back up a little point on to piggyback on what you said, when Councilman Mueller brought up about the 3%, piggyback what the mayor was saying, $1,000 permits, $30. Could be 2 inspections. On our cost, I think it's $60 an hour for an inspector. So you're already behind the ball. Then you've got a permit tech, and if it's something that's got through zoning, you've got all those people already in there. I understand what you're saying. And then coming back to your other one about if you get charged $50,000 for your pool and the permit fee is already included in your contract, you're not being charged again for that. That money's coming out of what the contractor had already put in there. So he's assuming that. So you're not being charged that. If you are, you need to talk to that contractor because he should not be coming back to you for anything if it's built into that contract.
Well, I've seen quite a few contracts, and sometimes they say whatever your permit costs are, in which case they've allocated an allotment for
Motion or discussion?
Motion to approve resolution number 24-23.
Second. Motion second for discussion. Anyone public got comment? Pat?
Pat Rogers, 4838 Sunset Boulevard. I just wonder if you could add a caveat to that that says if the delays are due to natural disaster, that the owners are not penalized if they, through, say your support services aren't available, the electric, the water, whatever it might be, that they're not at your house right now. Can that be something that can be looked at in a different eye than just not getting the work completed?
I think built in the whole communication thing, right? As long as you're communicating, obviously the city would know at that point. I would hope we'd be proactive on reaching out to if we had a national disaster where we had open permits, that we would make sure we try to help facilitate that they don't expire or whatever. But
What Mike said earlier, which I did not realize, is that when we get the permit and then we get a second inspection, that's 6 months. Did I hear you right? That 6 months starts again. So if you don't get inspected for 5 months for a pool and they come out and inspect for a second phase, then your 6 months starts again. You don't have just a month left on the permit. Did I understand you correctly?
If it's approved.
Well,
It
yeah,
has
of
to
course,
be an
if it's
approved
approved,
inspection.
yeah. Wait, but
Yep,
did I
it
understand what
resets.
you said correctly?
Yeah, it can continue to reset after each
Right.
approved
Well, you
inspection.
say, come look at this, I'm stuck, my pool guy hasn't come out, you come out and go, well, you're stuck. Okay, and then you got another 6 months, and then I call you in 5.5 months, yep, still stuck. You come out and, okay.
Not a common occurrence, but as a perfect example, when I went to pull a permit to demolition my house, put a T-pole up and build a new house. And I was going to go to the city here the next day. I was going to pull $12,000 permit, and then COVID came, shut the city down, shut me down. By the time I geared up to do that, the cost of building a house doubled, and I wasn't able to do it. So that $12,000 is not refundable, and I'm just done, right? Well, it says no refunds. I mean, I come one day short of losing $12,000.
say that again. So you
didn't find.
I was ready to demo my house. I had to pull a permit, and in order to demo the house, they wanted a impact fee for a new construction, and I was getting a T-pole permit also. I was actually building the T-pole in the garage when I got the call from the state when COVID came on March 13th, 2020, and so I waited to go get the permit. The city was shut down. I couldn't get a permit anyway for several weeks. But I geared up again to try to demo the house. I got calls from my contractors that the price to do the house almost doubled, so I didn't have the revenue to build the house. Now, if I would have went in the day before I got that call and pulled that permit and got all the stuff I needed to do for new construction, it was close to $12,000 for not just the permit, but for impact fees and everything. It says there's no refunds on that.
Yeah, so you changed
Now,
your mind.
that's a rare occurrence, but there's got to be stipulations, and you're not. I mean, that was been a disaster. I mean, it's hard on everybody, but then throwing away $12,000 for absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Now, maybe there's an exception to that, but there's nothing in here as far as that exception.
I don't think we can put every exception in. I think in that situation, Bob. I mean, I think
mentioned natural
seriously.
disasters.
I mean, we can't put every gotcha in there. That was a global thing. The city was shut down. I think that's a total annulment. And had you applied for the permit, absolutely you should have gotten that back. And you did not, and I thank God for that. But I think you can't put every what if in here. And I think that would be discussed between building official, city manager, and attorney. And I
But
think
there's like
that would probably be fine.
exceptions could be made to natural disasters or pandemics, and that's it. It's a simple phrase.
Would
It gives them that area.
on the refunds, since we're talking about refunds, obviously, would it be better to, like you see in a lot of our code, that the city manager has the ability to,
Or discretion.
Right.
at his discretion,
That's right.
make an adjustment on a refund?
It's a simple phrase.
I understand it's a simple phrase, but I would rather. I mean, if you're going to do that, I would hold off on this. Let us put together a policy for that. So it's something that you would bless as part of that. So it's something you can adopt and grant the authority to do it.
Would it have to be part of this, or can we action this for the fee and then come back and do the policy for the refunds?
We could do this resolution and just get the fee instated, and then if we want to do different changes down the road, do
Yeah,
policy.
that'd probably be,
We can
and
do
we've got that motion on the floor. So why don't we go ahead and act that, and then we can
bring it back.
We can bring it back and talk about refunds. And the policy goes to that.
Resolution.
Okay. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is item number 7, approval of resolution number 24-24, appointing a special magistrate for code enforcement proceedings and approving the rate of pay. I pass it to Mr. Copper for introduction.
So this is actually the companion resolution is the next one, which is what originally we had brought forward and started to discuss internally, which is the appointing of the special magistrate as the local hearing officer for the city. And what was brought to my attention a number of months ago was that so when the hearing officer started, I think the fees may have been a different number, and then it increased, but there wasn't really a contract in place with the hearing officer. And so we started kind of a back and forth going through a contract to reflect what his current costs are, which if you look within the agreement there with the special magistrate, it has that contract that shows that it's going to be $250 an hour. And so as we started moving forward with that, we also started talking, as you're aware, about doing the special magistrate for code enforcement proceedings. And this individual that does that, the attorney, actually does code enforcement, I think, special magistrate in other cities as well, and was willing to do that. And so instead of coming back twice for the same person, the city attorney suggested that we go ahead and appoint him the special magistrate for code enforcement, and then you'd be appointing the special magistrate to do the hearing officer for the red light tickets. And that's what the hearing officer would be. I don't feel we're ready to actually start doing the special magistrate for code enforcement. I know one of the things the city attorney wants to do is update the fine section, I believe, for that.
Yes.
And I think there may be some other changes to that particular code that you wanted to do as well.
There are a couple others that I can't remember right now, but the main thing is the way your code currently reads, the special magistrate is limited in his fines to what the county court was doing, and special magistrates have ability to charge more money. for certain things. So we want to make sure it's very clear in your code that he has the ability to charge $250 a day for a continuing violation, $500 for a repeat violation, possibly $5,000 for certain violations. Right now, he doesn't have the authority within your code to do that. So that needs to come back once you're ready to use a special magistrate for code enforcement.
So the recommendation from the city attorney was to go ahead and appoint Jonathan McGuire as the special magistrate for code enforcement proceedings. And then the next, which is the companion one, would be to appoint him to be then the hearing officer for our red light tickets.
And if I may, I'll explain the reason I'm asking it to be done that way is the statute that allows the special magistrate to be your hearing officer for red light districts anticipates you have a special magistrate. And your code allows for one, but you don't actually have one. So you need a special magistrate so he can be appointed as your red light hearing officer. And should you choose to use him for code enforcement, you would have that ability to do so. That makes sense.
Can you read my title?
Find it. Resolution number 2424, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey appointing a special magistrate for code enforcement proceedings, approving the special magistrate's rate of compensation, and providing for an effective date.
Okay. Motion or discussion?
Yes, so all we're really doing is indicating the rate of pay for this guy, should we choose to use a special magistrate to enforce code.
And for code enforcement.
Yeah, it has his rate of pay and what his duties would be. It lays out what's expected of him for that rate of pay, and the city's duties to help him do his job.
So where does the fines come in that you were talking
That
about?
would be in a change of your code. It
Is
would be-
the item 8 the next one?
No, it's an ordinance that needs to be drafted at your
Gotcha.
direction. Yes.
Gotcha.
It would change the code.
And so this approval here doesn't enact it as far as using a special magistrate. It just gives the ability when we're ready.
Puts them on
Yeah.
standby.
Yes, he's there once we're ready for him.
But more importantly, allows for the
Yes.
next resolution that we have to get in place.
This is your appetizer. Dinner's coming in.
Yeah, I got my dinner there.
Motion to approve resolution number 2424.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion, a second. Further discussion? Anyone in public like to speak? So you don't have to bring it back. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Next up, item number 8, approval resolution number 24-25, appointing a special magistrate as a local hearing officer and approving the rate of pay. I'll pass it to Mr. Cobb for introduction.
So our code requires that council appoint the local hearing officer for codes like this every year, and also establish what the rate of compensation for the services of that individual will be. So this particular resolution will appoint Mr. McGuire as the hearing officer and establish that based on the contract of $250 an hour. And before anybody asks, hopefully I can read this. I did ask for a payout of what we spent over the last 2 years. It looks like we've been billed 8 times in fiscal year 24. And thus far, we have been billed 7 times in this fiscal year. Both years, it was a total of $1,507. Looks about 50-50 how those broke down.
That was the cost of him doing the red light?
Yes.
Okay, that's what we
Just the hearings.
Right. I went back and tried to find out what our legal costs were with regard to code enforcement. And no, I couldn't find any legal costs going to the building department, so it must be buried in another account.
Well, it would have been,
Probably the general fund.
I think, do you remember where it was at? I know you still see the code number here. Oh, no, it's general fund 19. Is that general government? 19 general government?
So I would propose that we try to attach that to the right group rather than have it oblivious to everybody. We really should try to match where the expense for code enforcement would go against code enforcement or potentially building department somewhere so that we could see what we're tracking to.
Yeah, I think when we get to the actual use of the magistrate for code enforcement, I would envision that we in that particular cost center we would have professional services line that we call out for the magistrate. This, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's where we account for the cost of red light tickets.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken. So.
Right, but when Nancy bills us for showing up in court and that kind of thing, we get an invoice, and attorneys are meticulous about every 15 minutes. They ensure that it's got a chargeable action or chargeable out. So when we get that invoice in and she's shown up in court, that should go against the code enforcement somewhere, a legal fee in the code enforcement account somewhere. And I was just trying to ascertain how much did we spend in that area last year. Also, the number of cases that we have, in flight, what we've closed, kind of an overview of the whole process, so we can see how big is it. Is it an elephant or is it something smaller? And at the end of the day, I think our process should point to changing what we're doing and ensuring that we're, one, making a physical contact with whoever's creating the offense, then go to notice of violation, then go to a citation, and try to give people the benefit of the doubt and really educate our residents so that we can build some harmony in this city. I hear it a lot that don't know why I'm getting this, don't know why. So let's have maybe a better discussion on addressing how this process works. I'm going to make a motion this be tabled for now so we get more information, because it doesn't sound like we have.
Motion table, is there a second? Motion dies. Let me read by title.
Resolution number 2425, resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey appointing the city's special magistrate as a local hearing officer, providing the local hearing officer's rate of compensation, and providing for an effective date.
And then the one thing I wanted to just understand, the idea of the special magistrate is to reduce our costs, correct?
Not necessarily. I mean,
what's the point?
Okay. I'm not a special magistrate for code enforcement, which was the last resolution. This one's about the hearing officer for your red light cameras. It's two different things.
This
one's
is
for red light
this is red light, only the red light.
Yeah, so I have nothing to do with that, and I can't talk about it. That's why Matt gave you those numbers, but I'm not involved in the red light camera hearings.
Yeah. So let me clarify that, because that's my mistake. This deals with our current process, and we're doing this now.
Yes.
We just need to reappoint him because it's a normal thing we have to do annually or
Yes.
whatever.
When I showed up, I learned there was a hearing officer for red light districts. I then learned there was no contract, and by law and by your code, there needs to you need a contract, period. But then by law and by code, to have him do what he's doing, he needs to have this.
Makes sense.
And let me just say that when we get to that conversation about actually starting to use the special magistrate for code enforcement, we're going to have that conversation.
And that information so we can make an intelligent decision. Because last year I heard we spent $35,000 to collect 6. That makes no sense at all. So we can do better than that. And I think we, amongst ourselves and their staff, can figure out how do we make it a win-win for everyone.
So are we gonna have the opportunity to say we're good with using a special magistrate at a later council meeting? Yeah. Okay, so let's just appoint it, rate of pay. We'll still be able to opine on whether we're going to use it or not.
Yes.
And at that point, I'd like to have a discussion: is it going to save us money or not, or we're going to spend more money or whatever? That's important to know. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, but doesn't the magistrate also expedite?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's also a problem with residents. If there's a problem, then go to court. It's an extended period of time where if it was a magistrate, I thought that was the major reason we were looking at this, was to expedite it for our residents so that they could get resolution to whatever the problem was, or the potential code problem was. It is about money, but it's not always about money. It's about resolving it for our residents so they don't end up over the 6th month and with the permit process and end up in a pickle.
And I certainly agree with you there, but we need to look at the data, and we don't have the data, right?
Okay, that's right. So today, we're not going to start using a special magistrate for code enforcement tomorrow.
This is for red light.
You need the special magistrate approved, so then you can have one approved to do your red light. You now have, in a minute, you will have that. Before the special magistrate for code enforcement purposes is when that decision is made, you will get all the information and all the answers that you need to decide how you want to go forward.
So is there another motion? Motion second. Further discussion? Any public comment? So we'll have to bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, approval of resolution number 24-26, amending resolution number 24-07 to modify the committee member requirements. That's up to Mr. Copper for introduction.
At the last meeting, council had requested the city attorney to amend the resolution that established the Centennial Committee to allow for appointment of non-residents deemed by the council to be helpful and productive members. During the meeting, a non-resident with event planning experience expressed the desire to volunteer in the planning of the city's centennial celebration. The council was receptive at the time to the idea of including this individual in the committee. The attached amendment to the original resolution would enable this individual, as well as any future non-residents who are considered beneficial.
Read by title.
Resolution number 24-26, resolution of the City Council of the City of Port Richey amending resolution 24-07 to modify the committee member requirements and providing for an effective date.
Motion or discussion?
Yeah, motion to approve resolution number 24-26, amending resolution 24-07 to modify the committee member requirements.
Is there a second? Motion second. Further discussion? Any public comment? Show of hands. Seeing none, I bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. A couple on with that. We don't have it on the agenda, but we do have in front of us a letter from Cheryl Taylor. She's obviously the one this is changed for to be able to accommodate an event planner for that. I'll read her letter. Dear Mayor Hoover, City Manager Copper, City Clerk McDonough, I'm writing to express my sincere interest in being considered for a position on the Centennial Committee of the City of Port Richey as a dedicated member of the community and senior promoter and market manager of Community Markets and Events LLC. I am passionate about creating opportunities that bring our community together and celebrate the unique heritage of the City of Port Richey. With my experience in event management and community engagement, I believe I can contribute to the planning and execution of events that will honor Port Richey's centennial milestone. I am eager to collaborate with the committee and support efforts to create memorable experiences for our community during this historic celebration. Thank you for your consideration. I look forward to the possibility of contributing to the success of this important event. Please feel free to reach out to me directly at 727-365-6411 or via email at cheryl@communitymarketsandevents.com if you require any further information. Warm regards, Cheryl Taylor. She's just some background. Obviously, we've had 2 meetings, and she's been in the audience for both of those, been very helpful in discussions on that. So I'd like to possibly go ahead and action her so she can actually sit on committee at the next meeting. So I guess first we'd have to amend the can we just...
You can just do a motion. Motion to appoint her.
Oh, we don't need to be on agenda? Okay, so if I could get a motion to add Cheryl to the committee.
I make a motion to add Cheryl Taylor to the committee.
To the Centennial Committee. Okay.
I second
Okay. Motion second. Any further discussion? Anyone comment? Public comment? So you don't have to bring it back. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is item number 10, third amended school impact fees intergovernmental agreement. I'll pass it to Mr. Cobb for introduction.
Thank you. Much like us, the county school has been going through an assessment of their school impact fees to make sure that it's covering the intended cost of new development within the county. They are proposing a third amended interlocal agreement, which you have in your packages, that again, if council agrees to, will allow for them to have a higher impact fee than what the current agreement allows for.
And I do have Elizabeth Kuhn here to take any questions, if you guys like. So open the floor, motion or discussion. Would you guys like to hear from Elizabeth first?
Sure.
You give us a little dog and pony explanation.
Great. Thank you for having me here this evening. My name is Betsy Kuhn. I'm an assistant superintendent with Pasco County Schools. And as Mr. Cobbler indicated, we are here because of an interlocal agreement regarding impact fees. We were recently had these approved by the County Commission last week, was the second reading in the vote. And so we had an impact fee increase last time in 2017, and that was a phased-in approach over 3 years. We had a study done in 2024, so 7 years later, to recalibrate those impact fees. As I'm sure you're seeing here in the city, the school district is seeing an increase in construction costs. And so part of that study was to look at that and to look at all of the growth that is coming to Pasco County, in particular Pasco County schools. We increased by 1,000 students last school year and are projected to increase by 13,000 over the next 10 years. So we're definitely a fast-growing district. And those students that I referenced, that 1,000, those are just students coming to Pasco County schools, not to charter schools or not to private schools, even though we now have the voucher programs that also are running. Our 2024 study resulted in a maximum supportable impact fee of $13,613 for single family. Florida has had an impact fee statute change recently, and it now provides for a limitation on existing impact fee amounts, and it specifically states that a fee may not increase more than 50% except for in extraordinary circumstances. And so the statutory limit for the impact fee increase is $12,492. Our proposal is a 4-year phase-in, so right now it's $8,328. Our proposal is $1,000 per year over the next 4 years. And I also just wanted to talk to you a little bit about why impact fees are so critical to the school district. And that's because our overall strategy with the capital plan, we have penny for Pasco dollars. Very, very helpful, need those penny dollars that allow for us to not only build new schools, but to renovate existing schools. And I know we're here in the city of Port Richey where we don't have projects right now, but 10 minutes from here, we have penny projects that just recently wrapped up and penny projects that will be continuing and starting soon. Gulf High School, 10 minutes from here, recently was completed. Gulf Middle School will be starting, and Cypress Elementary will be starting. So we use those penny fees to be able to work on those schools and to do renovations. Impact fees help us to keep up with growth, and we really need that balance to be able to maintain that capital plan that allows us to keep up with growth while also maintaining and renovating our existing schools. We believe, and I know you all believe too, that good schools make strong communities and places where people want to live and do business, and therefore we respectfully request your approval of this interlocal agreement.
Quick question. So on the single family where it's supposed to go 63%, why is that able to do that again? Because I thought it was 50%.
So what we're proposing is less than what the study came back at.
Recording stopped.
No.
Did I do that?
No. They shut you off.
So the current fee is $8,328, correct?
Yes, and we're proposing $1,000 per year to get us to that $12,328.
Is that 50% is per year? Is that?
That's the 50%. We aren't allowed to come back in except for every 4 years.
So it's not
Right. This is only on new construction.
Yes, sir.
It's not on existing homes.
Right.
Unless they meet the thresholds to qualify as that, yes.
Right.
And what about if you had to tear down and
Yep.
and rebuild?
Those situations, I mean, it depends on whatever the code says for what it would be. But yes, those can be, depending on how much you're replacing, can be an impact fee as well.
But it wouldn't be the full necessarily, right, in that case? I mean, because technically you've already paid it, right?
Typically, a tear down has got a baked in impact fee. So maybe it's
Yes.
a delta between when it was and what it is now.
Yes, so this is for new single-family detached. I know that it's not as simple as just, if I'm putting one room on a house, it's a percentage based upon what you're actually replacing.
So this is $1,000 per year per single family new dwelling.
Yes.
In addition to what they already have.
Yes, ma'am.
So what you're saying is the impact fee would be if it was 10,000 now, it'd be 11,000 next year. And if you built it 2 years out, it'd be 12,000.
So right now it's the 8328. The proposal would go to 9328 starting in January, then 10,328 and on up. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there was on the pages, they had that progression somewhere.
Yes, that's in, if you're looking at the study that was attached to your agenda, we have that.
I think it was at the bottom. I'm looking for it.
I can tell you the page number.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's in the study that is attached.
36.
236, okay.
Yeah, there you go. Impact fee single family 8328, and it goes to 9328, 10328, 11, and by 2028 it reaches to 12328.
And the 4 years is because of the between 25 and 50. I'm sorry.
No, I interrupted you, I apologize.
Oh, no, please go
So
ahead.
that's total 8,000 on top of something else.
That's the school impact fee.
Okay.
Just the school impact fee.
Just the school part.
Yeah.
The school impact fee. Meaning what the school district gets. It's not necessarily we are able to buy buses with it, for example, or it's what buy land with it, but it's just what the school district gets.
And you're asking for how much more than normal?
So we're asking to go in January to increase by $1,000 and then to increase by $1,000 again the next January, the next.
Right, I understood that. It's how much more than the
Well, the total increase over the 4 years is 63% for single family homes, right?
The total increase over the 4 is $4,000 from what we have right now.
Why does that show
over the
63%?
50, because at one point
This
you
is the
said
current, this is the current.
right. At one point you said 50. They
when
can
we-
only ask up to 50%.
You'll get more of a primer on this when we bring very soon the request for updating our impact fees, the number of our impact fees. But effectively, by statute, they can only increase a certain amount over a 4-year period.
Right.
And to go over that, there's a possibility that you have to have a lot of extenuating circumstances to prove. And so typically there'll be a target number that they can justify in the study of what that number should be. It's generally less than what the study can justify. I mean, the study will say it should be this, but you can't really justify that as easy. So here is a number that fits within the statutory limits, and you would do over a 4-year period.
Well, so, and maybe I'm missing something here. So on single family homes, the current fee is 8,328. 50% that would be 4,160 something, right? But we're taking it to 12,492, which is 5,285 or 63%. Is there extraordinary circumstances that are able to achieve that 63%?
No, we did not come in under that provision of it. It's in 4 years. So when it comes in between that, that's the 4 years. We're not coming in today asking for that, the 12,000. In 4 years, we're coming in asking.
Okay, so that 50% is just year by year. You can't increase it. So you couldn't take 8,328 and turn it into anything more than. Yeah, 12. Oh, wait a minute.
So our study came in. Our study came in and said, based upon your need, 13,613. But the statute doesn't allow us to go that high. And so we thought it made sense to come in and have a round number with the $1,000 over the 4-year period. And we have to come in and attempt to renew every 4 years.
I see the problem. So it says 12,492, which is 50%. But it says 63% here. So that's what the problem is.
13,000.
So they're only raising it 4,000 something.
Yeah, that's what the study says, but the statute prohibits us from coming in that high.
Am I the only one who's confused here? I guess.
It's $4,000 increase split over 4 years. They want 5 though, but
yeah.
We'll take all we can get.
I know.
Can I ask? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm going to build a $400,000 home, including all the impact fees, including this. Does anybody have a clue what impact fees would be? Like, what is the percentage of this to all the impact fees?
So for the county, I know that when with the county impact fees, it's getting close to $30,000 for a new build. A large portion of that is the mobility fee. There also was a county parks increase that just took place in the spring as well.
So for a $400,000 house, you could be paying 30, 40, 50,000 just in impact fees.
$30,000 approximately, yes, ma'am.
And on this particular impact fee, for sure, it doesn't matter what the value of the house is. It's the same across all homes. So if it's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, or
As long as
5 bath.
Yeah, I mean,
a single family, yes.
yeah, I just haven't
The other categories.
house in 37 years, so
Right.
I had no idea what the impact fee.
Doesn't sound like you want to either.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
New construction, I don't think people even realize that it's baked into what, when you sign the contract with the builder. I don't think people always realize that it's already included in all that, and they may not even realize how much it is.
Does this impact the residents who already live in their homes?
No.
No.
Okay,
Yeah, the intent of this is that the people moving here, the growth will pay for itself. That's the intent.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Good question.
Is there any guarantee that after 4 years, we won't be asking for more money or an increase between now and 4 years?
We won't be coming in between now and 4 years, but I anticipate we will be coming back in 4 years, or at least doing a study to see what the study supports. If we continue to grow by 1,000 students a year as we're projected to grow, I mean, we've built a school a year for the past many years.
The possibility if it stops growing, then it may not be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The east side in particular right now is exploding. So we have a lot of projects that we're looking at on the east side of the county. In Zephyr Hills and Dade City, it seems like they're almost one now. There's not as much separation as there once was with all that growth.
Any further discussion or motion?
Can we make an emotion to approve?
Is there a second? Second. And motion second. Further discussion? Anyone in public got a comment? Pat? You gonna pick up the tab for all these new homes?
Thank you.
Don't go away. You need to answer it.
All right, I'll stay right here.
My question for him is, how does this impact the property owners of rental residences?
The property owner, sorry, say it again?
Residential properties that are rentals?
Yeah, the owner that would actually build the property would pay it.
Just saying, but what kind of, is it a different percentage? Is it the same percentage?
I think you're asking about like apartment.
Multifamily is a different.
Multifamily.
Single-family housing.
Single-family rental property.
I already own it, but.
This would be if you built a new rental house.
So this is.
Yeah, if you built a new house, then you would have an impact fee to build it, but not.
Anyone else? Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, I bring it back for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And for everybody. Okay. Moving on to the last item on agenda is item number 11, discussion of old business. So I've got a handout. This is our ARC list. Any discussion on old business?
If I could.
Absolutely.
Quick. So we updated, I know it's been a couple months since we updated this, which is one of the projects that Adam was assigned. So we went through and did update this. I did add another, actually 2 columns, show the money that's been encumbered for different projects we have in there. And then shows what's available, minus, what was budgeted, what's encumbered, what's been spent, and then what's available for each of those projects.
So we spent to date $370,000. We have another $583 encumbered, which puts us at whatever that is, right?
649.
That's
550. 649. So for instance, you go up to the coastal design of here. you know, the encumbered amount will be the total of the contract. So you can see where we kind of spent up to. That would leave the difference between the budgeted, which was 175, and what ultimately the cost is, of $41,000. Obviously, it's something that once we have it out to bid, we'll be applying that towards the demolition costs.
So we're gonna get that demolition
Coming.
swept into this.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a final estimate on that. The demolition.
Last up here?
Yeah.
We received 100% of all deliverables. They're preparing the bid packet now. I've already sent them a template that we normally use. They're going to review that and get that back to me as soon as possible. And then we'll be able to go out to bid.
Did they estimate what the cost would be, or?
I believe it was at the time between 30 and 40, if I'm correct. That was their estimate.
Well, it was the last that I saw was somewhere between 40 to 70. But they should have the engineer's cost at this point. We'll get that.
So, big question is, we plan on spending the 649. What can we ramp up between now and the end of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything's encumbered at this moment. If you look at the budget, you guys are spending. So the $584,000 for the water main project, everything is encumbered. So we're good with ARPA right now. This is what's not been encumbered. So there's not a PO for these items, but they are, they're projects that's going to be spent with that money. So there's really no money left.
Well, the water main project, Cody River Landing.
We haven't done anything on that.
Right.
Other than probably pay heirs to draw up plans, right?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it came out of here. I think you actually probably spent it out of your CRA.
Right.
So
Advanced Engineering did the initial water main project plan, and we have drawings for that. But because of the possible new development, we have to, and depending on what that may be, it's not sufficient enough to meet the demands of what that development is. So we probably have to bring that back and have those plans redone. But once again, that's speculating on possible development.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, so we've got the Grand Boulevard numbers coming back, and that may eat up most of that if we decide to use that for that instead.
Right.
Of course, depending on what the counties want to do.
I think there's 3 projects that are kind of hanging out there that you have talked about potentially using that amount or that funding for. One is Grand Boulevard. One is the pier. If the demolition cost is greater than the $41,000, and the third is Brasher Park, the bathrooms.
The outhouse.
Yeah, so we're trying to get, I think restrooms, not outhouse, restrooms. That one is probably the least likely to be at a point of engagement by the end of the year. But I think that both the pier as well as the Grand Boulevard would be in a position. And again, Grand Boulevard, we're also looking at potentially getting help through the county through their allotments of state DOT money. I think again, there's a lot of need within the city that we could probably turn around pretty quickly and get that encumbered before December 31st. But we're just kind of in a holding pattern until we get those engineering costs and what we're going to do with those 3 projects.
If we signed a contract to do that would encumber the fund and we'd be safe, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the point
Maybe
we have
that's
to
the
get to.
objective.
You don't really need to do a contract. We could just do a PO for this, and it would encumber it.
Same thing. A PO is a contract.
Yeah, same thing. But you wouldn't have to actually have a contract with a contractor to do anything. We just encumber it. The 23,880, I'm almost positive we've spent that. That's IT inflammation. I think we already spent that on that Thrive, I think.
Not yet.
It should be encumbered, but it doesn't.
It is,
going
yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
One way or the other, it's done. It's gonna be.
Okay. I wasn't, because yeah. So, but we can just PO the rest of, as long, if this is what you guys want to do, or change it out and we can just encumber it before the end of the year.
Well, it sounds like we've got pathways to spend it all.
A plan.
Yeah. So I'm not sure where to go, but we'll get her spent. Yep. So that's the main thing. So if we could continue to have discussion because we're so close, to make sure we start.
Every
Get an update on this because we want to make sure we don't turn anything over.
There's a water main on the water. We talked about a 10-inch main on Old Post, bringing it down to Cody. And then we have to work out some with DOT as far as running the water main over the bridge to Limestone, but bringing the 10-inch pipe down, continuing it down Old Post, that covers no matter what we do out there. That would cover anything, wouldn't it? That should be done.
Well, that's been talked about, but not approved for by council or anything to pursue that project.
We could do that though. I mean, not tonight, but these funds here, is that towards that?
Nope.
Part of these funds towards bringing that 10-inch water main down?
That's not.
That's separate.
I think it's again something that we need to start. I think it's a project that we want to move forward with. We have to put together what that project, what's the scoping on what the project is. Come here to council, make sure you're on board with what we're talking about, be able to identify exactly where the money is going to come from. Again, if it looks like, we're not going to be able to use this funding on those other projects or don't need to use it on those other projects, that would be kind of the next tier of things, because just from the standpoint of getting the engineering done on a project like that, you're probably 60 to 90 days to get the engineering done on it. I mean, it seems simple, I know, but I've seen it other places where engineers work very quickly. It's usually, 60 days to get those plans done and out to bid. Here, it seems that engineers take a lot longer. So I wouldn't even be able to hazard a guess on when they would be able to get a project to bid.
Can we find out?
Well, again, I think we need to get a scope together of what it is we're going to be doing. Get with some engineering firms and see what those projected costs would be and bring it back to council for your approval to do that.
Weren't we looking also at some chlorine storage tanks as well? I mean, certainly anything off of the penny for Pasco, we could take a look at maybe buying some. In other words, if you're running out of time, we're looking for opportunities, right?
Yep.
Right.
So that's why it's important that we don't want to.
I think so.
Leave monies on
from my perspective. The number one project that you all have talked about has been the Grand Boulevard intersection improvement. And again, that number in my mind is very close to what I think that cost could be. I've heard a lot of different people weighed in on what that could be. I think that's the high end, but again, I'm not an engineer, can't tell you that. And so what's kind of costing us time right now is getting the final numbers on what that preliminary cost is going to be, which will answer that question. And if the answer is, we can do, it's going to cost $500,000, cost $1 million. Whatever that number is, we can start working with the county to see what they have available and what our share of that's going to be, because I don't think that there's a scenario necessarily where it's going to be 100%. But until we get that done, kind of in limbo. So I don't necessarily want to use that money for something else, because again, you as council, since I've been here, said, if we have the money, we need to get that project done.
And you got this. Have you guys put the speed signs up yet?
They have it marked. We just haven't had a final approval to install the sign. We were going to install the south. The southbound side first, but Public Works is just waiting for final approval to install.
Approval from who?
By you.
Yeah.
The city manager.
And then I sent you guys a list of all the lighting in the waterfront district. Was that helpful? I mean, you guys working with trying to get with Duke and find out if there's opportunities to put more lighting down there?
I drove around there last night. I noticed a couple of dark spots and took a couple of poll numbers down. So we'll be looking into it. And actually, I noticed there was another light that was out that I reported to Duke Energy, so they should be repairing that soon. So after that's done, I'm going to submit for quotes on those. There's a couple of spots we can start with.
And I noticed that a lot of them are 40s or 50s in the lumens, and maybe they could be upgraded to a larger, like we have on the at Waterfront Park, where those are 110 lumens, so it's almost double the amount of light that's thrown out. So, just an idea.
Consider that, but I'd be afraid of, how bright they would be, of course, in any close residential area.
I'm talking about the roadways.
No, I know.
Yeah,
but they'll still be bright, and someone will see it from afar. So. But I'll look into it.
On the logo for the centennial anniversary, did we get any more submissions? Today was the cutoff.
So yeah, we have a few more that we're going to present to the committee. On top of the, including the ones that we selected out of the first group, we'll have some other ones for the second group, and we'll make a final on that so that we can survey for the finals.
Okay. And I probably should cover this in the board committees, but I'll just say, so we met, and we had some submissions of logos, really cool logos. Okay, so it me or not, but we did select 3, but we realized that the cutoff was today, so we're going to meet again and then go over that. And once we have those new 3, if it's the same 3 or we swap them out or whatever, we'll select 3 and we'll put those out for the residents to vote on, and then tally those votes and make a choice of which one we go with. So that's forthcoming. So good. So how many we have you say new ones? Look at how many more came in?
I think it's maybe a handful, between 5 and 6 more.
Okay, so quite a few.
Because there was one person that submitted like 3 or 4 different versions. So,
Variations. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Any other business? For motion?
Second.
A motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any adjourned.
Okay.